Before you and I, under the mountains of Maluti, in the village of the Babokwa, there lived a creature that used to terrorize and eat everything that was on its path. It swallowed people, cows, goats, sheep, chickens. I mean, everything that it could smell and get its paws on. It looked like a snake. It was not a snake. It had a big red eyes at the back of its head. A big mouth. A big, yes, so that it can hear from far away. Everyone was scared of it. It was called Hodumodumo. On the other part of the mountains, there lived a woman with her son. A young man's name was Mushenyana Sankatana. Mushenyana Sankatana lived in fear with his mother. They were hiding, running away from this beast that made a young man become big, strong, and clever. Because he had ways to overweight this creature and hide their livestock in the caves where this Hodumodumo would not reach. Banawe, kaleleng la matsatsi. Mushenyana Sankatana le mai. Ba utlwela ka le hlokwana la tsela ho. Ai! Hodumodumo. Had done it again. This time, it also swallowed the princess. Look! And the whole half of the villagers, the palace. Look! Moshanyana Sankatana, a ipulella fela hore. O tlameha a lwantshe Kgodumodumo. Empa hele ha o le jwalo, mai o ile a hana. Ha ba le khulagulana. Bakeng tsa le mai, o fihlela mai a tela. Yaba. Mai ka le leng la matsatsi, yena moshemane Sankatana. Moshemane Sankatana, he had to sit down and thought about this very hard. Yena mai o ne se le leqhekwana a sa kgone hore a ka matha a balea Kgodumodumo yena. He had a plan. He took his knife, dried grass, wood, beer, along with the spear. He put them in his bag so that when this Hodumodumo swallowed him, it also swallowed his bag. He went to the mountains where Hodumodumo was. He started poking Kgodumodumo. Kore I hosa, yamona. Hey, Hodumodumo swallowed him with his bag of goodies. Once he arrived there, he saw the princess, his neighbors, the villagers, and a lot of animals. People and the animals were getting hungrier and hungrier because Hodumodumo had swallowed everything in its path. It was another village inside of the belly of the beast. Hey. Hobane ho no sena tsela eo ba neng ba ka pheha ka hare ho Kgodumodumo. But this young man, he came in prepared. He took his bag and Juan, dry grass, wood, yaba, udibea fatsi, alaitamon. With his knife, he started slicing inside of the belly of the beast. Yaba, we are pair. Munati. Wanama. Yaba baja. Bahora. Dimba zaita mapako. Kama shokuren kamuna. Koba, ba ne se ba qetetse kgale ho ja dijo tsa mofuta o jwalo. Khalek banna. Ba thaba, ba ba motlotlo. Yaba, moshanyana Sankatana had done it. Ka ho Phulusa. Yaba. They get married. Badula ka lethabo. Batswa. Ho le jwalo ha ne ba tswile ka mono. Morena a thabile. Jwalo. Ho le monate. Yaba ke tshomo ka matheto.
Marumo a sankatana le kopla sa ho etsetse jwang ka tsona.
Ngwanaka. No birio. Koto. Eo moshanyana sankatana a ne a sebedisa. Ela nkuwa ke morena moshweshwe. Naheng ya Lesotho ho ka pholosa setjhaba sa hae. Le rumo lona. Lilala nkuwa ke King Shaka. KwaZulu-Natal to protect his nation. Atithipa yona is still a mystery. Empa kere ha o ka ba le motho ya ka fumanang thipa eo, please bring it back. Re tlo e hloma ka hodimo ho Kgodumodumo museum. Ke tshomo ka matheto.
I'm Professor Jonas Schwanier of the University of the Witwatersrand's Evolutionary Institute. And I'm down here in our Karoo store, which houses the fossils of hundreds and thousands of vertebrates from South Africa's deep evolutionary history. On my left are the fossils of dinosaurs. On my right are the fossils of our relatives, the mammals. And in this collection is written the entire history of how we first crawled out on land from the seas, evolved legs and arms, and became who we are today. I'm going to show you a bit about some of our early vertebrates here in South Africa, the ones that you might know as Hodumodumo. And they're here in our library of ancient fossils. So follow me. I'll show you the way. Each of these shelves is a giant library compactor holding more than 2 or 3 tons of dinosaur fossils. With these wheels, I can open up a compactor, and just like a library system, each fossil species has its own address in the library. So if you'll come with me down this corridor, I'll show you where the fossils of Hodumodumo live. So in these shelves, and these shelves here, are the bones of an enormous dinosaur from the Fourierberg region of South Africa. This dinosaur's name is Ledumahadi Mafube, a giant thunder at dawn, and it's one of the first of the truly giant sauropod dinosaurs. Now to me, Ledumahadi is as close as we could get to a living Kgodumodumo. Look at the size of the backbone on this animal. This is just one vertebra from its spine. And this vertebra is so big, I can barely lift it. In these drawers are other smaller bones of Ledumahadi. And this is one of my favorite ones. This is the little toenail of a Kgodumodumo. It's bigger than my hand. And this, in life, would have been covered by keratin, the same stuff that makes up our fingernails, and would have come to a sharp point. Imagine having to clip that. If we look in the other shelves in this collection, we see lots more bones of this dinosaur. Over here, we have bones of the arm. This one, I can just barely lift. And this is the elbow. So you can match your own arm up to it. Kgodumodumo, or Ledumahadi as the official species name is, weighed as much as 2 full-grown male African elephants. And this elbow is actually a little shorter than an elephant's elbow. It tells us that Ladumahati probably had a squat posture. It wasn't standing perfectly erect like an elephant does today, but it was rather crouching down with its elbows pointing out. And that gives us evidence that Ladumahati was still learning how to walk on all fours. It was evolving the ability to become an herbivore that walked on all fours, known as a quadruped. There are many other bones of Ladumahati here, but I want you to cast your eyes on this shelf. When I started working at WITS nearly 10 years ago, we didn't know what any of these dinosaurs were. And it turns out that this is a new species, and that is a new species. And as we began to work through our collections, and if you look off into the distance in the rows and rows of fossils we have dozens of new species just in our museum alone. So if you think there's new species everywhere on these shelves, how many fossils do you think are still out there lying in the felt that represent new species of dinosaurs? My guess is hundreds, maybe even thousands. And I hope that one day it's your job to find them. This cabinet here holds many of our most important specimens, and I'd like you to come in for a closer look. This is the skull of a dinosaur, of a species named Massa spondylus. And it's one of South Africa's most famous dinosaurs. It was known by scientists as early as the 1850s. Now we affectionately call this specimen the gun because it looks like it has a handle and a trigger. But it represents the skull, the head, of a dinosaur that died when it was a teenager. It might have been going to dinosaur high school. On this skull you can see the row of teeth and the eye and the nostrils very, very clearly. And this skull tells us that Massa spondylus was a peaceful plant eater. It had a tiny head and a long neck like a giraffe, and it would have used these teeth to rake the leaves off of plants and swallow them whole. It would have digested those leaves in a giant gut where it had stones, just like chickens do today, where it pulverized the leaf matter and fermented it for days and days. Now there are more than 170 Massa spondylus specimens in collections in museums all over South Africa. And one of the nice things about having dinosaurs in that great abundance is that not only do we have teenagers, but sometimes we get slightly younger ones. This is the skull of a Massa spondylus that would have gone to grade 0 at dinosaur school. It's a tiny one, not fully grown. You can see it's less than half the size of this one, but many of the features are exactly the same. And by studying how the bones change between this age and this age, we can understand what it was like for a dinosaur to grow up. But better still are these treasures from Golden Gate Highlands National Park. Each one of these small white things is a dinosaur egg. And in some of these eggs, where the shells have been removed, we see the bones and the skulls and the limbs of baby dinosaurs that haven't yet hatched. Those dinosaurs are curled up in those eggs, just like chicks. And if tragedy hadn't befallen them, they might have hatched and one day grown into Massa spondylus babies, and then juveniles, and then teenagers and adults. These eggs tell us what it was like for a dinosaur that was growing inside of its shell. And we know that Massa spondylus came back to Golden Gate Highlands National Park every year for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, to lay its eggs and to let its babies grow and develop. These dinosaur eggs, with the baby embryos still in the shells, have justifiably made Golden Gate Highlands National Park one of the most famous places for dinosaur hunting in South Africa. And in fact, the park's Dinosaur Interpretive Center, the Kgodumodumo Interpretive Center, is a place where we celebrate the story of these eggs, from their discovery in the mid-1970s, to their initial study here at WITS, to the international team of scientists that came here to South Africa and found not just a few more eggs, but 13 nests, all in the cliffs at Rooddraai. Those 13 nests told them that not only did Massa spondylus mothers lay their eggs once in Golden Gate, but they came back for thousands of years, much like sea turtles come back to the same beaches in South Africa today, to lay their eggs and to raise their young. Now, Golden Gate isn't just a dinosaur egg story. In fact, it preserves an ancient ecosystem that existed here in South Africa 200 million years ago. We have dinosaurs like Massa spondylus and its babies. We also have fossils like this one. This is an ancient crocodilian. In fact, it's the ancient ancestors of the same Nile crocodiles that live in South Africa today. This animal, named Orthosuchus, was found less than 100 meters away from the dinosaur nesting site. In fact, maybe it was waiting to sneak in when an inattentive mother left her nest. Maybe it wanted to have a few eggs for breakfast. But Golden Gate, much like today, was once the host of a thriving ancient ecosystem. And that ecosystem had the ancestors of today's crocs, the ancestors of today's birds in dinosaurs, and the ancestors of today's mammals and turtles and lizards. In fact, the origins and the root of all the wildlife that makes South Africa such a lovely place to live, visit, and go on tour today.
Right.
The Hodumodumo Interpretive Center at Golden Gate Highlands National Park is a celebration of the ancient fossil heritage of South Africa. It tells the story of the finding of the eggs and their subsequent excavation, but it also tells the story through the lens of local people, the story of Hodumodumo, and how that story is based on the dinosaurs that live in the same place that we are breathing and walking today. The center takes us through a tour from the discovery of dinosaurs to what it would have been like in that ancient ecosystem, to what it's like to be a member of the community today and living the legend of Kgodumodumo through the Basotho people and through the other peoples of this area. After our visit through the museum, we're taken to look at the steep cliffs, which represent the dunes and the floodplains of life in the Free State near Clarens 200 million years ago. We walk from those cliffs along the stream bed, and we come up to an interpretive area. We come up to a platform where we can stand and look at the Rooddraai site. That Rooddraai site is where Massa spondylus mothers were laying their eggs for thousands of years.
You're thinking, go on.
A short walk from the Kgodumodumo Interpretive Center along the stream and up the embankment takes you to Rooddraai. It's the site where Professor James Kitching from Wits University first found these eggs in the 1970s. At Rooddraai, you'll see the red muds of an ancient river system that frequently overflew its banks. And protecting those muds are two igneous rocks that almost form a tent over the site. That's enabled the fossils there to be preserved exceptionally well. And every time one goes to Rooddraai, you see something new poking out of the cliffs. The Rooddraai site, when James Kitching first came there, was actually on the side of a rural dirt road. And as they widened that road to get ready to put paving down on it, Kitching drove through and took a pause And he looked at the piles of rocks they had excavated from the side of the cliff. And just as you're standing at Roy Dry, he was once standing there in the 1970s, and he picked up a rock, and he looked at it, and he said, you know what this is? This is a dinosaur egg. And that rock was brought back to Wits University, where we removed the rock carefully from the eggshells and uncovered the babies that lie inside. Subsequent research at Roy Dry has actually found 13 nests over a big stack of time. And those 13 nests represent Massa spondylus mothers coming back to nest again and again for thousands of years. This fellow here to my left is a species named Dracovenator. And when Massa spondylus was roaming Golden Gate Highlands National Park, Dracovenator would have been the top predator. You can see its sharp teeth and its long, skinny skull. It's built for speed. And it would have been a fearsome animal to contend with in its day. Now, right near the nesting site at Roy Dry, scientists have found the skull of a baby Dracovenator. And research is being done at this very moment at Wits University to piece that skull back together and figure out what it would have looked like when it was alive. So this was a 3D print, actually, initially, that they've... Oh. They've gone and fleshed out. Okay.
Yep.
This is the skeleton of Big Mama, a mother Massa spondylus. It starts with her head, which is small, and this long, skinny neck arching all the way back to her body here. Her neck has more vertebrae than a giraffe's today. Here's her arm, which was short and had a powerful grasping hand, maybe to hold trees back while she munched on them. And her tummy would have been right in here. You can see her ribs arching over it. And that's where she would have digested all of that plant matter she ate each day. This is her leg, which we've lost. It was broken after she was fossilized. And her tail starts to arch up here and we've lost the end of that too. But it would have carried on far from me. In all, Massa spondylus would have been up to 5 meters long, and she weighed about as much as a kudu, about 500 kilograms.
Hello everybody, my name is Paddy Gordon. I'm the park manager of the Golden Gate Highlands National Park. Now the Golden Gate Highlands National Park was proclaimed for a number of things. One, it protects the very endangered grassland biomes of the central part of South Africa. It is also one of the highest points of the country. I call it the roof of South Africa, and therefore we catch the rains. We are the catchment area which feeds some of the major systems or river systems in the country that provides up to 30% of the country's water. Then we're also very popular for people just for drive-throughs for these beautiful sandstone cliffs that have shapes and colors that you don't find anywhere else. But today we want to speak about our other identity. We used to be the playground of dinosaurs. And all over this area we find footprints, we find bone, and we find different kinds of fossils. And it has been our dream for many, many years that we should start interpreting and showing people South Africa's fossil and dinosaur record. Because we all seem to know the dinosaurs of other countries, but we have a very rich dinosaur history in this country as well. And here we are standing in front of the Dinosaur Interpretation Center, built inside the Golden Gate Highlands National Park. And it will showcase the dinosaurs that were found here. We believe up to 12 different species occurred in this area. The most notable one was called Massa spondylus. And we'll speak more about that. But this center was intended, and it is now complete in construction, and it will showcase and invite people from around the world to come and see South Africa's dinosaurs. Because of this rich fossil history that we have here, it has been our dream for many years to build a dinosaur interpretation center. And we have it. It is now a completed structure. It has been built to fit in very beautifully into the surrounding. The design and the landscaping has been designed to fit into the surrounding, and it is very close to an important find site, which is just a few hundred meters up the road. When you arrive at the Dinosaur Center, the parking area will be over that side, and directly behind me you'll see at the moment a zigzag path. Now that zigzag is a very important part of the experience, because as we know, geological time went over millions and hundreds of millions of years. So the path was designed to take you with every zig, you'd sort of go through 100 million years, and then the next zag you'll be at 500 million, and at 4 million, 400 million, 300 million years, and at each corner there'll be an interpretation of what the geology would have shown at that period. And as you zigzag towards the building, when you enter the building, you're entering the period of the dinosaurs, and that is where the displays of the dinosaurs will then start. Let's say, for example, you start the experience at 600 million years ago. There'll be a display there showing what the rock formations will show as at 600 million years ago. Then at the next zigzag, it will be 500 million years, 400 million, 300 million. And at each one of those sites, there will be some kind of interpretation of what the rocks will show at that age. Then when you get to the building itself, it'll show the age of the dinosaurs, and that is where the displays inside the building will take you into the dinosaur eras. Okay, at this point you've now gone through the path along the zigzags, and when you approach the building you're now at the age of the dinosaurs. This is the entrance of the building where you'll start with the exhibits of the dinosaurs. The building itself inside also follows a zigzag to make the best use of the internal space of the building, to fit in as many exhibits as we can, and then you return back to your parking area out on the lower side, back to your vehicle. At this point, we're right at the entrance of the building. We just want to show you some of the features that have gone into the design. Behind me, you'll see a feature that attempts to reflect the scales of the dinosaurs. Sometimes on their necks, they had these scales standing out. Even that was put into the design of the building. At the entrance, there will be public toilets, there'll be a ticket office, and we're looking straight into the reception of the building at this point. When you get into the building, there'll be a reception where groups will reform and regroup. You'll get information, maybe some translation for foreign visitors. And then from here, this building immediately starts to zigzag towards the audiovisual center. Come along. Here we are in the auditorium or the media center. This will be like a little theater with a big screen on the wall and chairs for people to sit down. In this area there will be a 15-minute video interpretation of what you can expect in the rest of the center. Give everybody a background of dinosaurs and then dinosaurs in South Africa itself before you start the tour, being well informed what's awaiting for you ahead of you. Once you step out of the audiovisual center, the first interpretation that you're going to see built here is going to be the site rebuilt where the most important dinosaur fossils were found. Against this wall, the entire rock formation will be rebuilt, and it's called the find site, where the dinosaur nest was found, which is a unique find across the entire world, which stimulates the interest of the dinosaurs in this area. Against this wall, there will be a depiction of the different eras of the dinosaurs. So just like outside the zigzag path, there will be an exact identification of which dinosaurs occurred during which periods, all across this long wall on my left-hand side. Another exciting area that I'm looking forward to is going to be the story of the fossil. So we've heard about what the rocks say. This area is going to tell us what the fossils say. Because nobody has seen a dinosaur. We only know about dinosaurs from the fossils, the bones, and the footprints that we find. And the fossil record here is going to explain to us how do paleontologists know what dinosaurs look like, building up from bits and pieces of bones and footprints. And that is what's going to be displayed in this area. This is another very special part of the interpretation center, because the visitor can almost engage with the paleontologist. Behind this glass, there will be paleontologists working on actual fossils. They'll be drilling away the stone and the rock to expose fossils, and we as guests will be able to see them working. The room is specially controlled. There'll be dust control, humidity control, and extraction features there so that the paleontologists can do their work properly, and we will actually be able to see what they are doing. A guide might be with you to explain what it is that they are busy with, but this will be the first time that general visitors can see paleontologists actually at work.
Right.
Another feature of this room is this folded glass doors that you see here. And the idea with that is that it can accommodate specialist visitor groups from other universities from different countries, paleontologists that may want a bit more information than the average tourist. And then they can close themselves off here and engage with the specialist speaker and engage directly with the paleontologist in the lab just below. At this point, we're more or less at the center of the interpretation center, quite an exciting spot, because you start seeing this massive glass window, which is going to be an important feature of the center. Through the window, you will see a life-size reconstruction of Massa spondylus, which is the main dinosaur that we want to interpret there. It'll be like a mother looking after the nest with eggs in it. That'll be visible throughout this whole area through the glass window. On the inside at this spot, there'll be a reconstruction of the actual nest that was found here, with the 7-8 eggs inside the nest, which was the main reason for all the attention for dinosaurs in this area.
Right.
So this area behind me will be a live exhibit. There will be living plants of some of the examples of plants that would have grown at the time of the dinosaurs. To give an idea of what it would have looked like at the time when a dinosaur walked through this area, those would have been the plants it lived between, it fed on, and probably used for shelter as well. One of the things that puzzles everybody is extinction. Why did it happen? When did it happen? What happened that led to the sudden disappearance of dinosaurs? So this funny shaped display area here below me is going to be trying to portray extinction events, volcanic action, sudden changes in temperature, and there will be dinosaurs dangling from the ceiling, perhaps showing that your pteranodons, pterodactyls, make-believe volcanic action that will show some of the things that could have happened that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. The building makes use of opportunities for big windows, both to show the setting that we are in. I mean, the surrounding sandstone cliffs are right here, But it'll be enormous photo opportunities for the guest to take a selfie and a photo to show where they have been, where they are between the place where the dinosaurs would have walked before, and just to record their experience. Now here in the last part of the interpretation center is going to be an interesting link between the scientific part of the dinosaurs and the fossils and the mythology of the Basotho people. In the mythology of the Basotho people there is a monster called Kgodumodumo, and in this area is going to be an interesting link between the two, the scientific part and the Hodumodumo part. Nobody knows what Kgodumodumo looked like, but it was a feared monster in the minds of the people. And an interesting part of this display is going to be to bring in also the hero in that mythology called Mashonyana Sankatana. And Mashonyana had a spear and he decided to attack Kgodumodumo because Kgodumodumo swallowed and attacked villages and villagers. And they could hear these villagers still alive in the stomach of the monster. And Mashonyana attacked the monster with his spear. The villagers came out alive and set them free. So the idea with this display is also to show that you need to face your fears and you can be released from the fears that holds a whole village or a whole nation.
We go out.
At this point, we exit the building and we step back into the presence of this magnificent, we call it mushroom rock, which shows again all the rock formations, the lower formation where the fossils would have found, and we are standing back in the place where dinosaurs would have walked. These are magnificent rocks. Okay, as said from the inside of the building, on this island here, we envisaged a building of life-size dinosaurs. It will be Massa spondylus, and with several nests with eggs in the nests that will be visible from inside the building. But as you exit the building, you will exit around this site so that you can see the dinosaur display very close up front.
I'm doing my 360.
When you've exited the building, the path takes you past this point at the glass windows, just underneath the building. These are going to be two opportunities for local businessmen to run a curio shop and a coffee shop. And in the curio shop, local arts and crafts, maybe clothing will be sold. That will be part of the interpretation of the Hodumodumo Center inside. The coffee shop will spill out onto this space here, depending on how the weather allows us to use the outside spaces as well. at all points in the interpretation center, we want to make sure that the center caters for the whole family. So at this point, we are directly opposite the coffee center. While the parents are taking a cup of coffee, we want to make sure that the youngsters are enjoying a play area within the eyesight of the parents. And we've put together all kinds of play equipment. We created some fake dinosaur footprints for them to follow. And right behind me, there are even some fossils that are rebuilt that they can touch and feel and imagine what it would be like to be a paleontologist one day. Now we can probably just get close.
Khalek banna. Bataba. Baba mushutu. Yaba. Moshanyana Sankatana had done it. Go. Mbapulusa. Yaba. They get married. Badula kale chabo. Batswa. Oli jwalo ha ne ba tswile ka mono. Morena a thabile. Jwalo. O le monate. Yaba ke tshomo ka matheto.
Yo, Ada. Moshanyana Sankatana. The great warrior.
The mountain.
The woman.
The king has offered me the land and the cattle. The land to get a new source of brave soldiers with the same dignity and strength he gave us to fight. And the cattle, life. Dear mountain, I also saved your daughter, the precious princess who I call the sunflower. She's beautiful. I laid my eyes upon her, and damn,
Manna is all yours.
red.
Yeah.